Hi, dog mums and dads. Welcome back to another episode of the Natural Dog Mum podcast. I'm Sherry, otherwise known as Bear's mum. Today with us is Kahla from the Natural Dogta, or I should say she is the Natural Dogta, and she also has an amazing brand, also called Dogta, of portable, that's spelled with a P-A-W, portable first aid kits for pets. So we're going to be talking to her all about that, as well as all things nutrition and natural health. So stick around. Hi, thank you for coming again.
Hello, how are you?
Good, good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Busy day, but also not too busy.
Oh, that's all right for a Friday, Arby, then.
Yeah, well, it's rainy, so
We got lucky. We did have that earlier in the week. It's sunny today, but it's Victoria,
yeah.
so who knows? It could change any second.
Yeah, Melbourne's a bit rainy, isn't it?
It's a little bit everything at the moment. The sun will be out, it'll be really bright and warm, and then it'll start raining all at the same time. It's
Yeah. Oh, I've always known as Tasmania and Melbourne seem to be the places where it's like 4 seasons in one day.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, most
Absolutely.
definitely.
Now, to start us off, do you want to talk to us a little bit about how you got into the space where you're operating now? I know that your story started with one of your lovely little Pomeranian babies.
Yes. So basically, if I go way back, it all started with about 10 years ago. I did my very first canine nutrition course, and I've always been a dog lover. And I even have a birthmark on my leg, the shape of a dog. So I'm thinking, I think I'm born for this.
Oh, my
So,
God.
yeah, so I think that's where it all started, where just my love for dogs and I've never ever lived my life without a dog. I was born into a family that already had 2 dogs, and from there we always had dogs, all overlapping, always had one. So at one point I think we had 3, and then you know, as they do, they don't last as long as us, which is awful. But
No.
anyway, that actually sparked a bit of interest in canine nutrition is when my family's dog Stanley, he was a Staffy Kelpie. He passed away from I
Right.
think, liver issues and something suspected on the brain. And he was 14 at the time. And he started getting a lot of nosebleeds. And then one day he just completely declined. And that was basically it. And so I think that was a moment for me to think, hang on, like, I wonder what really is going on. Why do dogs not last as long? Why do they get these things so easily? And what's going on? And doing that course really, really helped me understand just how much is wrong with the dog food industry. And then most of the time, like in between my part time jobs, I really, really wanted to do dog walking because obviously, as a dog lover, I just want to be around all different dogs all the time. I have like that instinct with them, like for their safety and just want to just love them and meet them and everything. So I also thought it's a good way to put out there my services that I can do canine nutrition for people that I was learning about it. And so I did that for a while, and then I always kind of was doing it on and off with the dog walking and house sitting with people for like with pets. And then I started branching into online business sponsored by PETA Australia, PETA, the Animal Welfare and Cruelty. I had an online website actually that specialized in vegan fashion because I was very passionate about what was going on over in the Asian countries with their dog meat trade and some of the things they do to dogs for, fabric and fur and things like that. So I had an online business doing things like that, trying to push vegan fashion as much as possible. And then the sales and the marketing, it wasn't really there yet. It couldn't take off to that next level. And I guess I gave up because I thought, I always support this myself, but I just don't know how I can make this business really thrive. When sometimes there's just that wall and you just can't nudge past it.
Yeah.
But anyway, then in general, I've always been passionate about natural health anyway for humans. So I worked in a natural health food store and everything, learned a lot there as well. Done a ton of courses, natural health, medicine, herbalism, everything like that. And then the last couple of years, I've really branched back into the whole direction of canine health and safety, and then the passion for safety, and then rescuing our very first Pomeranian Chihuahua. He was 9 years old at the time when I first moved in with my
Mm.
partner. He was absolutely adorable. Oh my God, his name was Buster. And
Oh.
he was very sweet. But the unfortunate thing is he came to us with a broken leg, terrible gingivitis, really overgrown matted fur. And it was just so sad. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to use all this knowledge I have to just give him a whole new life and health. But then 4 years later, when he turned 14, I guess his past caught up with him, being that for 9 years he was mistreated, not fed well. And I think he lived near the vines where they backed onto the golf courses. And obviously, as you know, glyphosate is always sprayed on these courses. And there's a massive link there between in dogs and glyphosate and grass treatments and everything. So
Gosh.
I started looking back into that, and I thought this may be a connection, because after all I've done for 4 years to try and help his health, there's nothing there that would have triggered him. I've not fed him kibble. I've not done anything in any way that would ever create this. So I was still beating myself up, though, as you can imagine. So when he got
Mm.
lymphoma, we were told from the vet, look, he's probably only got a few weeks to live. Me, obviously, absolutely devastated, me and my partner. Like, this dog Buster he became my partner's first, it was his first dog, and became his sole dog, basically.
Yeah.
So we didn't accept that it would be a few weeks. We said, no, we're going to try everything possible to make him live longer and have quality of life. I managed to get 3 months extra out of him, and he was completely himself. You
Mm.
would never think he had anything wrong with him. And then it just came down to the very last week of his life, where laboured breathing, swelling of the lymph nodes quite rapidly, prolapsed anal canal and everything, the rectum, sorry. And like all of these things started happening, and we basically gave him the best last day ever, is what we could do. And then you could tell in his eyes, like it's just he was suddenly just kind of not there. And
Yeah.
we had to do a home euthanasia with that. And that just made me so determined. The pain of losing your first, like, he was my
Yeah.
first dog mum experience because he was my own, not my
Yeah.
family's. So you
Yep.
can understand that having that experience and actually seeing him last 3 months longer, I thought, hang on, something I'm doing is right here, that's at least giving him more time. And he's happier, he's healthier. And that made me even more passionate, thinking I can help other people get longer out of their dogs, especially if they start early from a puppy. Dogs used to be living to 18, 22. Now you're lucky to get to
Exactly.
14. And this is what's shocking. So you can see now that whole series of events of how it all started for me, and the experiences around dogs and sickness, plus that inbuilt on something in me that's just so passionate about dogs and loving them. So that was probably the longest start to my dog industry thing, but that
No,
yeah,
I
yeah,
could, I could have
all of it.
I could have beat that if if only in years alone. So talk to me a little bit about what happens during your consults. What sorts of health issues are pet parents presenting with? And what sort of advice are you giving? Is it primarily nutrition, or are you talking about other things as well?
So mostly when I do consults, it'll be for many reasons, but the ones I've seen happen a lot is a lot of dog owners see skin issues, usually all rooted back to the gut. So it's basically gut issues, allergies, obviously undiagnosed allergies, as well as basically, yeah, I'd say a lot of gut issues mostly, but UTIs as well for female dogs.
Mm.
There's that happens a fair bit, like reoccurrent bacterial infections,
Yep.
yeast problems.
Yes. Yep.
Usually from there, we always start with let's change the food and see what happens with just the food change. Usually tell them, give it a solid 1 month to 3 months to see differences and keep me updated on the whole progress. So usually it'll be definitely changing their food. If they're on kibble, changing the kibble, changing to better homemade food, real food, what I call human food, but should be dog food. And usually along the lines of what you also do, the herbal kind of infusion of like the healing properties in herbs can really help as well, along with the food as like their supplement. Also incorporating just different habits as well. For example, if there's a dog that's allergic to grass, maybe take them to enclosed tennis courts and throw the ball and let them run them around rather than them feeling the need to have to still go down to an oval and run around, or take them for walks, places that they're less likely to come into contact with some grasses and just things like that. Different habits, food and supplements mostly. Yeah.
Amazing. So tell our listeners a little more about where the idea came for Dogta for the first aid kits.
So that came mostly just I've seen a lot of incidences where dog owners have been stuck in a situation and then had to try and find their way to a vet in an emergency. And that also got me thinking that there's certain situations where if you don't have a vet nearby, what do you do, basically? And it's not that everyone's going to carry a massive canine dedicated first aid kit, in the back of their car all the time. Some people do, which is fantastic. That's an amazing dog owner. But something that is portable and convenient, you can just clip it on a leash. You can just clip it on a backpack, your belt, anything, right? And it is lightweight. It's got 13 items inside of it, and it's made to have that assurance and almost like a cheaper version of pet insurance is what I say. So having that just really, really helps if you are needing to, especially if you're somewhere you can't get to a vet in time. So, for example, if your dog cuts its paw open on some glass or something in the bush on a hike, or it gets ticks or anything, you've got different things in that kit to be able to aid those issues until you can reach a vet. Or, certain things, I'm not going to say don't go to a vet, but there's certain problems maybe you can just solve yourself. But obviously, it's great to check with with a vet if there is certain issues of, especially if there's been a lot of bleeding or anything like that from cuts and wounds and everything. We've got the saline solution, everything to clean out everything that's needed. But that came from seeing a man in a similar situation where his staffy, he pulled up to the vet very quickly, needing a lot of help because his staffy had jumped through the window and cut himself with all the glass. And luckily I had towels in my car. I was able to help straight away. And so that also sparked that urgency to create something that's going to help people in these difficult situations that, you just can't predict. So it's one of the most handy things. And my partner, funny enough, it's good for humans too, because my partner, once we were out and we were trying to pick some lemons off of an overhanging lemon tree, and he tried to get like the best ones for me, but he ended up cutting his arm on a fence. And crazy enough, we had the doctor kit with us, and it actually completely solved the situation, and he didn't need a doctor or anything. So we solved it ourselves. So it can be used for humans as well. And being that it's so portable, being that it can help a human and a dog, that's fantastic. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And it'd be so handy to have, just whether you're going on bushwalks or you're at the dog park. I mean, simple little things,
Yeah.
they get into a scuffle with another dog and somebody's bleeding,
Well, exactly. Yeah. You have
or
to
they've
clean
torn
out
a
the
nail.
wound. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Or the number of times, I mean, there's a velodrome local to me where I'll often let my dogs run. Everyone does in the area because it's completely enclosed.
Yeah.
And my girls will run up and down the sides, which is on quite a steep angle. And the number of
Yeah.
times they've torn a paw pad,
Oh,
or they've torn a nail, not
yeah.
exactly an emergency, but my God, it bleeds like you think they're going to die. Simple
Yeah.
little things like that. It's just so handy to have something to take care of it.
It is. Yeah. No, it is. And even if they've just got something simple stuck in their paw and, they're not letting you get it out with your fingers, you've got tweezers in the kit as well. You can pull things out, something, if anything's stuck in their body, like, the prickles and things like that. There's just so many things you can do to help your dog on the go with a small kit like this, because I think some people, obviously, we're not all completely financially, stable, and they can't afford to go to the vet and then be paying $500 for one simple thing that was an accident. And if they had the tools to do it themselves, they could have pulled something out themselves, or they could have dressed something it's
Yeah.
in their own way without having to pay $500 for
Absolutely.
the vet.
If it's not a deep wound, if it's something that just
Yes,
simply
exactly.
needs to be cleaned and needs to
Mm,
be covered, if they don't need stitches,
yeah,
you may not need
exactly.
to consult a vet.
Exactly.
So
So
very,
there's
very
certain
handy to have. And you,
situations where
yeah,
yeah. When it's not severe,
absolutely.
you can save money with having this kit. I mean, it's only 35.99 on my website. So, obviously that doesn't include shipping, but being that that is a lot cheaper than having to spend God knows how much at the vet. And if your kit does have the charcoal in it, it's going to be an option in the future. That in itself will also help a lot because there's been scenarios where
Oh,
I've
yeah.
had to take my dog to the vet and spend $300 when I didn't really have to. I'm not saying that, don't go to the vet, but there's certain scenarios where it could be maybe helped at home. Yeah.
Absolutely. And look, even if it is a situation that does require a vet's attention, at least
Yeah.
having that kit there with you can get you
Yeah.
through. You can keep a wound clean, you can cover it, you can stem bleeding. If they've
Yeah.
swallowed something they shouldn't have, you can at least get the
Mm.
ball rolling
Yeah.
so that, hopefully they won't need, as invasive a treatment when you do get to
Exactly.
the vet.
Yeah.
And as you said, if you live far from the vet, I mean, I'm in a country
Mm.
area. My nearest vet is a 50-kilometre drive. So having something
Wow.
like that with you or even just in the car, could
Yeah.
be a lifesaver, you know?
Most definitely. It can be well, like exactly like you said, it can be a literally a lifesaver in some situations. And like as I said, I'll put that out there again. Is that I'm not telling anyone to not go to a vet for anything serious, but there really is benefits to having this kit as just a reassurance. If you want to
Of
take your dogs
course.
out for a hike, you've got that at least. That can change everything, most definitely. And you can even like customize it because with our dog, I'm not legally allowed to put any medication as such in there, but I've put our own sachet of Clarentine in there, like an antihistamine. So I just keep that in his little kit because he's had a bad reaction once to bee sting. So if anything like ants or anything stings him, makes him uncomfortable and swells up, like we've got access to these things straight away, most definitely.
Absolutely. And it's all in one place. So you don't have to fumble about wondering where you put it. It's all there
Yeah.
when you need it. And the other thing I really love is you've got a really great range of holistic care products on your website, including
Thank
add-ons for the
you.
kids.
Yeah.
So if there are other products that you want to use or that you want to
Mm,
keep generally there, if
mm.
you've got a herbal eye wash, tell us about some of the other products that you've got available.
Yes. So Green Pet is there's a lot of Green Pet products on my Natural Dogta website. I'm going to start incorporating more on the Dogta Australia, which is the pet safety uh, first aid kits. I'm going to start incorporating that as like a branch from you can order your own kit, but if there's other things that you want to get as well, you can get like different green pet products to add to it. So basically, that's the avenue I'm wanting to go down in regards to just Dogta as the brand itself is all holistic health and pet safety, so that there's always a natural alternative to everything, as well as safety, as well as diet. Obviously, most of the time when I consult with people, I'll make a nutrition plan. So, there's so many options here to completely overhaul the way you take care of your dog through incorporating Natural Dogta and Dogta Pet First Aid all together. So that's the future of Dogta. The brand is incorporating all of that and really like standing by brands like yourself and Green Pet for all of the holistic and herbal approach to everything. Yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of chemicals in a lot of things, and it's hard sometimes for some dog owners that aren't aware of some things, and they might think it's something else causing a reaction to their dog when it's not. So having that awareness around everything and educating people on pet health and safety is just very important, I think, all round under that one name is the goal, definitely.
Oh, absolutely. And the other thing that I love as well with all of these extra add-ons, not only can you customize it to your dog's needs, but I mean, it may
Exactly.
not be necessarily something that you
Mm,
need to help with a
mhm.
physical wound or incident.
Yeah.
It could be that
Yeah.
you have some sort of event while you're out on a walk or at the dog park and your dog's,
Yeah.
say is nervous or has anxiety. You can
Yeah.
you can keep, you can keep a calming spray or a rescue remedy and a number of different
Yeah.
things in there
And
to help
there's
with
herbal
whatever the
drops as well,
situation
and
is.
yeah, and there's a great CBD oil brand I have as well on the naturaldogta.com website. I've seen some amazing changes in some dogs that have some anxiety, or if they're overly like aggressive in some ways, or very, very excitable. Having a few drops of that in their breakfast and dinner every single day consistently, it's even helped our dog that can sometimes be a little bit nuts. So I notice the differences on the days he has it and the days he doesn't. I can tell that it definitely works. Definitely.
Absolutely, and also something very handy to have, if they've strained something, if they've pulled a muscle, if they've pulled up a little bit
Yes.
sore
Yes.
after an exercise session, really, really handy to have to keep them comfortable until you either get them
Exactly.
looked at or get them home to rest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in things like the rescue remedy and everything, because that also plays a big part in pet first aid, and even, well, human first aid, is that's adding that holistic approach, something that will help bring calmness and less anxiety and stuff. Because I mean, if you're trying to work on your dog with an emergency, it's very hard if they're running around panting, anxious, shaking, whining,
Exactly.
barking. If you can do something to just kind of take the edge off, you just having access to something like that is just so important, even for all us humans, to have that. Definitely, I'm a big
Oh,
believer in incorporating
absolutely.
holistic with safety and pet first aid, human first aid, just overall health, natural health. Yes, definitely.
No, I think so. It's a fantastic
Yeah,
idea, and
thank
as
you.
I said to you, I think it's just so smart. Don't know whether you necessarily planned it as a strategy or whether it just happened this way because it's where your passion lies. But the fact that
It's
you're all
where my
about
passion
holistic
lies.
health, yeah, I figured. But you have this focus on emergency care and first aid. It's so unique in Australia at this point.
Yeah,
So that's something that's not only going to be incredibly useful and is so needed,
exactly.
but
Yeah. Well,
hopefully
from
that'll give
what
you a competitive edge.
Yeah, no, definitely. And from what I know of, and from some of the other people in the dog industry that I've spoke to, basically the only pet first aid product that's portable with that amount of aid and everything inside of the kit, aid material, sorry, inside of the kit, being so small, so portable for pet first aid, and being that there's a bit of a it doesn't look super, like, medical, it doesn't look like that, it looks like something bright and fun, and just it has an energy about it where it's like, "Oh, it's cool to be a good dog parent and have this clipped onto your
Yeah,
lead," you know? I wanted it to look like something that's handy and bright, and, I didn't want it to just look like a typical Red Cross kind of thing where,
yeah.
every dog owner then feels like their dog's got a disability of some sort, like, walking around. I wanted it to be like an accessory in a way. Yeah,
Oh,
something.
absolutely. Not to mention it is tailored specifically for pet owners. You're not trying to market a
Yeah,
human first aid kit, to
exactly. I didn't want it
animals.
to
So you,
look like Yeah, I didn't want it to look so much like human first aid. I wanted it to have its own kind of energy and look about it, most definitely, and I just think it's just so important. It's just so, so important having a whole new approach to dog health now that there's, so many platforms and there's so much awareness coming to light about how you can look after your dog in a better way, and some of the old school um, ways that were always believed that, kibble's good for your dog and your dog needs kibble for its teeth. And it's just like, no,
no,
not anymore.
no.
There's new evidence that that's not right. So no, it's good that that's coming to light.
We just need to keep shouting it from the rooftops until it reaches everybody.
Yes, all these people, all of us goodies in the industry will definitely make a change. If we're all putting different bits of knowledge out there and it comes to light, over time people start seeing and following that a lot more, and, thinking it's a cool thing to actually be prepared when you take your dog out for, pet first aid, and thinking it's a cool thing to make your own dog food. And, that's where we should be going, because like I said, your dog can live 18 to 22. Well, it's been 25-year-old dogs, in the past. But now it's like it seems to be the norm is like, oh, they're lucky if they make it to 14. And I'm just,
Mm.
it's sad because it's not really the norm. That's if they're on kibble, or other processed foods and, not really well taken care of or exercised regularly and just all these different things.
Yeah,
Mm,
absolutely.
yeah, no, most
So
definitely.
before we close,
Yeah.
what's the first thing that pops into your head if I asked you what is the number one thing that you wish more pet parents knew about? What's the first
Hmm.
thing that comes to mind?
Just don't be irresponsible with your pet. Leaving them in a hot car, ridiculous. Tying them up
I
outside of a
can't
shopping
stand that.
centre in a loose knot. Yeah, like all these things, like don't tie them up outside a shopping centre with a loose knot. Ridiculous.
I
Don't.
wouldn't leave them there to start with. I'm paranoid they'll get stolen.
Or there's that as well. It's just even there's just certain things that I've seen in regards to how you keep your dogs at home. There's just safer ways around everything with your pet, and be vigilant always with your pet when you're out with them and when you're at home. And if you know of anything in your community where there's weirdos or something's happening, keep your pets protected because they're relying on you to protect them, as well as feed them more naturally. So, and don't always rely on vets that they know everything about how to heal your pet because they don't. They know allopathic medicine, which is masking the problem, doing tests, and great for emergencies. But when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to well-being, longevity, a vet is not the place to be. It's canine nutritionists, it's the herbalists, it's the natural health specialists that will get your pet, living a longer, healthier life. Definitely. And that's probably not one thing that I thought of. It's like a whole range of things that I feel was the most important is be safe, go natural, and
Yep,
like be your own vet and doctor.
absolutely.
Most
Absolutely.
definitely.
Thank you so much for coming on. We're gonna have to get you back because we've got a lot more to talk
Thank
about.
you. Oh, for sure.